Picture this, a vast expanse of arid land stretching over 1,000 kilometers along the Pacific coast of South America. This is the Atacama Desert, the driest non-polar desert on Earth. In some places, rainfall is virtually non-existent, averaging less than 1 millimeter per year. Night after night, temperatures plunge, while blistering sunlight scorches the ground by day. The air, thin and dry, devoid of moisture, making survival a challenge even for the hardiest organisms. Nestled between the Andes Mountains to the east and the Pacific Ocean to the west, the Atacama's geography tells a story of isolation and extremes. Its features are stunning: salt flats that shimmer under the sun, sprawling sand dunes, and rugged volcanic terrain. Unique flora, like the resilient quinoa plant, struggles to exist amidst this relentless environment. Here, life clings to the edges, and yet, human ambition dares to carve a future. In the early 20th century, human activity in the Atacama took a turn toward exploitation. The region is rich in valuable minerals, notably copper and nitrate. These resources fueled economies and attracted industries, transforming the desert into a landscape of extraction. In the late 19th century, nitrate production became a cornerstone of Chile's economy, leading to a mining boom that brought waves of workers to the unforgiving terrain. Towns like Antofagasta and Iquique sprang to life, pulsating with ambition and ruthlessly driven by financial gain. However, the seductive allure of wealth came with a catch: the urgent need for water. For miners and their families, locating water became a daily struggle. The few available sources, including rivers fed by glacial melt and occasional underground aquifers, became the lifeblood of burgeoning settlements. These water supplies were precious and scarce, resulting in conflicts as competing interests clashed over access to this vital resource. Pioneers of the early 20th century learned quickly that survival depended on mastering the desert's challenges. Ingenious methods for water sourcing emerged. Some settlers built elaborate systems to capture the morning dew, while others dug deep wells in search of hidden reservoirs. The desperation for water fueled innovation, yet also bred greed. Corporations began acquiring land rights and monopolizing water sources, exacerbating tensions among local residents who relied on these dwindling reserves. By the 1920s, the quest for water had evolved into a high-stakes competition. Small communities were often at the mercy of powerful companies, creating a chasm between the wealthy elite and the struggling workers. With every drop of water tightly controlled and rationed, the concept of life in the Atacama shifted from a community-focused existence to one driven by profit and power. Faced with the relentless demand for both water and mineral wealth, the Atacama Desert became a battleground. Suffering and survival took on new meanings as the endless pursuit of riches transformed not just the landscape, but the very souls of its inhabitants. As the early miners navigated these treacherous waters, one question loomed larger: how far would they go to quench their thirst for wealth, and at what cost would desperation lead them? The answer to that would ripple through time and shape the future of the Atacama. What dark decisions awaited? Stay with us as we dive deeper into the struggles faced by the desperate souls in this unforgiving land. The early 20th century in the Atacama Desert was marked by a relentless struggle for survival. Here, in the unforgiving landscape where rain is a rare miracle, the scarcity of water wasn't just a nuisance, it was a matter of life and death. Some regions went decades without a drop. This desperate situation ignited a fierce competition where a single drop of water could drive the price through the roof. As mining companies soared in power, they claimed not only the land, but also its most precious resource. The extraction of copper and nitrate transformed the Atacama into not just a mining hub, but a battleground for water rights. The riches to be gained fueled greed. Local communities were quickly forced into the sidelines, their needs eclipsed by the insatiable thirst of industrial operations. Mine operators employed an insidious strategy to quench their thirst for profitability. They built a web of intricate systems to divert any available water away from natural sources. Rivers that once flowed freely were rerouted through pipelines, funneled directly to the mines. The reality was stark. While one industry boomed, local farmers watched impotently as their irrigation sources dried up, turning fertile land into desolate patches. The true impact of this water crisis reverberated throughout the region. Displaced farmers were left with barren fields, their livelihoods destroyed. The socioeconomic divide deepened. Wealthy elites expanded their empires, while workers often toiled for pittance, struggling to make ends meet in a landscape that offered nothing but despair. Some revolted. Protests erupted as desperate locals demanded access to water. But who would listen in the face of such monstrous profit? Innovation sprang from necessity, though. Ingenious engineers devised methods to extract moisture from the air, creating solutions that offered a glimmer of hope. Humidity collectors sprang up across the desert, which could extract a few precious liters from the atmosphere. Yet, these efforts only barely scratched the surface of the overwhelming demand fueled by the ever-expanding mines. The Atacama's natural resources became closely guarded secrets, locked behind walls of corporate power. The mountains, once a source of community sustenance, now loomed as giants hungry for extraction, forcing families to search further for life-sustaining water. But the company's ruthless exploitation wasn't without consequences. As the water table plummeted, the stability of the mining operations began to falter. The environment could no longer support such rampant consumption. An existential crisis loomed not just for the peasants and farm workers, but for the mining barons as well. What would happen when the thirst for water exceeded the ability to provide? As desperation grew, stories of ecological disaster began to surface. Cracked earth and parched riverbeds told a grim tale of a region on the brink. The land had been sacrificed for riches, but at what cost? As we peel back the layers of this saga, a critical question emerges. Would the very foundation of this mining empire crumble under the weight of its own greed? Or would it adapt, searching for new methods to exploit the most elusive resource of all? The consequences of water exploitation in the Atacama Desert were dire. Mining companies, driven by insatiable greed, drained rivers and aquifers that sustained local communities. They seized water rights and rerouted natural springs, transforming vibrant valleys into barren wastelands. Families, who for generations farmed the land, faced a grim reality. The agricultural heart of the Atacama began to wither. Take the town of San Pedro de Atacama, once a bustling hub for farmers. With the mining frenzy in full swing, the snowmelt from the Andes, which had nourished crops, dwindled to a mere trickle. What was once a rich agricultural region slowly turned into a desert of desperation. Farmers found themselves pitted against powerful corporations, fighting for a resource as vital as air. As wells ran dry and fields cracked under the relentless sun, the specter of hunger loomed large. The implications didn't stop at agriculture. Water scarcity introduced severe health crises. Communities depended on shallow aquifers that were now contaminated. Cholera outbreaks surged due to inadequate sanitation. Malnutrition became rampant, especially among children. Hospitals, underfunded and overwhelmed, struggled to treat dehydration and other waterborne diseases. The desperate situation failed to garner sufficient attention from the authorities. They prioritized mining profits over the health of the populace. Social unrest simmered beneath the surface. In 1928, protests erupted in response to water shortages, led by local farmers who were fed up and desperate. They called for the return of their water rights, for support from the outside world. The government, however, often sided with mining interests, viewing local protests as mere nuisances. This disregard stoked anger and frustration, which only intensified over the years. Economic impact rippled through every layer of society. The elite miners grew richer while local economies crumbled. Traditional livelihoods eroded, forcing many to abandon their ancestral lands. Former farmers sought work in the mines, cementing a cycle of exploitation. Instead of thriving, they became laborers in their own homeland, with meager wages and tough conditions under the iron grip of mining barons. In the face of such adversity, locals turned to more drastic measures. They banded together, attempting to establish their own cooperative systems for water distribution. These efforts faced legal challenges, and miners retaliated by denying resources, further entrenching inequalities. The struggle for survival became a fight for dignity. There was a flicker of hope amidst despair. Some progressive thinkers proposed innovative water conservation techniques. Humidity collectors, capable of capturing moisture from the air, provided a sliver of relief. Yet, these solutions proved inadequate against the overwhelming demands of mining operations. As profits soared, ecological degradation deepened. The irony was stark. The heart of one industry corrupted the lifeblood of an entire community. Now, as these trends unfolded, one question loomed. With tensions rising and desperation growing, how far were communities willing to go to reclaim their most precious resource? The stage was set for a confrontation that would force the world to reckon with the moral costs of progress. What would the future hold for the people of the Atacama Desert as they battled for survival against the tide of greed? The Atacama Desert stands as a barren testament to human ambition and folly. Over-extraction of water resources in the early 20th century didn't just quench the thirst of mining giants. It sowed the seeds of long-term consequences that would haunt the region for decades. Entire ecosystems lay parched, rivers dwindled to mere trickles, and the aquifers, once brimming with life-sustaining water, became shadows of their former selves. In the harsh reality of the late 20th century, local farmers and communities felt the devastating effects of water scarcity more than ever. The fertile lands that once yielded bountiful harvests now lay cracked and dry. Children bore the brunt of this neglect, suffering from malnutrition and even disease outbreaks. Cholera reared its head, a grim reminder that without water, life became a perilous struggle. While the mining companies thrived, the rural population fought a quiet battle for survival, one that went largely ignored by a government more eager to sponsor industry than protect its citizens. Outrage simmered and then boiled over. The protests grew more radical, driven by the conviction that water rights were not just legal entitlements, but fundamental to human dignity. Farmers banded together, demanding a fair distribution of water that had been usurped by profit-driven enterprises. For them, each drop was not merely liquid, it was life. Yet their cries for justice often met with legal challenges, intimidation, and the powerful influence of mining interests that seemed to drown out their voices. As the century turned, lessons began to crystallize. The struggles of the Atacama highlighted the crucial need for sustainable water management practices in arid regions worldwide. No longer could societies afford the illusion of endless resources. Blinkered greed had proved disastrous, and the growing awareness of climate change drove home the point. Without a collective commitment to sustainability, the future of water itself hung in the balance. Enter modern water management theories, innovative solutions that aim to reconcile human needs with ecological realities. Technologies such as desalination have emerged, drawing from the vast ocean just beyond the desert's horizon. These modern practices show promise, but come with their own challenges. The energy required to turn salty seawater into drinking water raises questions about sustainability and environmental impact. Is it the right solution? Or merely a distraction from the core issues of conservation and community rights? As we examine the Atacama's legacy, the reflection on human greed looms large. The choices made by those who controlled the water shaped not only the desert, but also the communities that depended on it. The question arises, have we truly learned from the mistakes of the past, or are we repeating history under a new guise? In the face of climate change and growing populations, the management of water resources is becoming a battleground for the future. The demands on water increase, while its availability dwindles. Communities worldwide look to the lessons drawn from the Atacama Desert experience as a guiding light or a warning flash. But as we grapple with modern dilemmas of water scarcity and rights, one critical question remains: can humanity rise above greed and find a lasting way to share our most precious resource? Or will we, once again, allow the thirst for profit to jeopardize our very survival?